entitled Technology's Role in Preserving Cultural Heritage. And I'm Chance Kokenauer from Google Arts and Culture, Head of Preservation. And I have two of our partners here who are joining us as well to highlight some of our recent projects that we've launched together in the last few weeks. And the first is Dr. Louise Bertini, who's Executive Director from the American Research Center in Egypt, and also Mohammed Al-Hashimi, the Director and Founder of Al-Ghad Radio from Iraq. So first, I would like to introduce you to what Google Arts and Culture is. If you haven't heard of us before, you've probably heard of Google, but maybe not of Google Arts and Culture. So we are an app, an online platform that makes the world's culture accessible to anyone, anywhere for free. And it is completely ad-free as well. We've been working for over 10 years, and now we have more than 2,500 institutions that we're partnered with to cover culture in all of its diversity on our platform. The two key focuses of Google Arts and Culture is to, well, of course, the headline is to showcase our partners' work globally, and that is done by celebrating and sharing the stories of heritage and art and culture. But specifically, in my role as cultural heritage preservation, working with institutions like the two that are joining us today, to talk about and to present their work to a wider audience, to amplify and promote it. And we also provide this free storytelling platform and technology to increase user interaction and exploration. So as an example, just to give kind of wider context to the preservation program at Google Arts and Culture, we've been launching projects for the last 4 years, and they sometimes are a global focus or sometimes on a specific country or topic. So in this case, Heritage on the Edge was launched last year on the theme of essentially showcasing the diverse impacts of climate change on cultural monuments around the world. And we did this with some of our partners in Tanzania, in Rapa Nui Easter Island, Bangladesh, Scotland, and Peru. You can explore more about it on Google Arts and Culture. And the second and final example, before we get to the two projects and case studies we'll be talking about as the core of this talk today, I also wanted to highlight probably maybe a surprise example of specifically how AI or machine learning can be used to help decode ancient languages. So we launched Fabricius last year on the anniversary of the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. It's available fully in English and in Arabic, and you have the option to learn, play, or work with Egyptian hieroglyphs. And with that, I will then, let's go on to Preserving Egypt's Layered History, which was launched on January the 14th of this year for Egyptian Archaeologists Day. And this was with the partner RC, American Research Center in Egypt. And then we will follow with the Art and Soul of Mosul, which was launched only a few days after. It was a busy month in January on the second anniversary of the Return of Mosul Museum exhibition. I just want to highlight that both projects are fully accessible in Arabic so that anyone can explore it. So with that, I'll hand it over to Louise. I will continue to run the presentation so that she can introduce you to RC and talk more about this amazing project.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chance. And thank you to the organizers of this event as well for hosting us. The American Research Center in Egypt is a private nonprofit organization whose mission is to support research on all aspects of Egyptian history and culture, foster a broader knowledge about Egypt among the general public, and strengthen American-Egyptian cultural ties. And we offer a wide variety of programs, fellowships, cultural heritage preservation initiatives in partnership with the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, along with grants through our Antiquities Endowment Fund program. One of our central priorities, which has been fast-tracked over the past year, has been, of course, to make our work as accessible as possible. So we're very happy to have worked now with Google Arts and Culture over the last year to develop content based on RC's repository of conservation archives that reflect the diversity of both Egypt's vibrant history as well as the breadth of projects that RC has undertaken. And this partnership has to date resulted in more than 30 different stories where users from anywhere in the world can explore all different stories and projects in Egypt. So the first one, which I believe Chance will scroll down to, and I'm only giving everybody a taste of what this project page has to offer. We offer not only stories, but also 3D experiences of projects that we have done. So I want to first highlight, for example, the Tomb of Mena, where users can virtually explore the tomb. And of course, if you visit the site, you can click around and play more in this virtual experience. If we go back, we also have not only about this particular tomb, but I'm just highlighting other stories that we have about the Tomb of Mena. I think it's a little further down, it should be. There we have, where we have different stories about the tomb, who is Mena. So you can explore this particular tomb where we did a conservation project in partnership under the direction of Dr. Melinda Hartwig of Georgia State University. She did work not only on conserving the tomb, but documenting and publishing the tomb. And then now these stories offer a way for users to explore the project. We also have done projects from not only pharaonic history, but from other time periods as well. And another site to which we also offer a virtual tour on our partner page is you can go on a virtual tour of the 14th century As-Salam al-Salahdar Mosque. And we also have other stories about mosques from the Mamluk period in Egyptian history as well that you can click through. So here's where you can explore this absolutely fabulous mosque to which RC, in partnership with the Aga Khan Trust, conserved in the early 2000s. We also offer a range of other content, including projects that we have done at Coptic monasteries, including that of the monastery of St. Anthony, which is one of the oldest monasteries in Egypt. So we offer, again, lots of 3D virtual experiences, as well as stories where you can learn about the history of the monastery, as well as the project that we undertook conserving it as well. The last that I will just very briefly highlight has to do RC's work on Roman ruins as well, where we undertook a conservation project of the Villa of the Birds, which is a Roman villa in the site of Komaldeka and Alexandria. So with this story, you can explore the site, and then we also provide a virtual tour of the villa as well. So this particular story that Chance has up is just highlighting a history of the site and the Roman history of this period in Alexandria as well. So that's a brief on RC's partner page, and I guess I'll turn it back to Chance or to Mohammed, I guess, to explore the next one.
Yeah, sure. So thank you very much, Louise. Let's go ahead over to Mohammed. Just going to change the slide to the Art and Soul of Mosul that was launched January 28th. And if you want to maybe introduce yourself and the radio station, Al God. Thank you.
Thank you, Chance, and hi everyone. So my name is Mohammed Al Hashim, and founder and manager of Al God radio station. The radio station currently is a media enterprise with more than 1 million followers, and also it's mainly broadcasting to Nineveh and Mosul and some parts of the north of Iraq. The radio station was established in 2015 in a kind of challenging circumstances. The idea was to communicate with people who were under ISIS occupation. The city and the idea was to communicate with people at that time and trying to break the siege to support the communities there. The city witnessed one of the most brutal period in the modern history, and the outcomes for both the occupation and liberation was massive in terms of level of destruction and the outcome that resulted in that's reflected on people's lives and also on infrastructure. One part that was mostly affected is a kind of history and some of the part of the old city and some of the historical and ancient site part of Mosul, which was massively destructed. I think many of you probably have seen ISIS while they were at Mosul Museum and they were destroying some of the artifacts and some of that, and which something happened to a lot of ancient place within the city. The Art and Soul of Mosul was launched as the second anniversary for a first exhibition that we hosted in Mosul, which was the Return to Mosul. The goal of that exhibition was to have the art and soul, and that to try to present something different to the community, and was hosted at the same museum that witnessed all the brutalness and all the destructions of the artifacts. This is the image that from the internal of the Cultural Museum of Mosul. So after that, and after the liberation, this is some images from the first offline activities we have created and we have worked on. This event was to celebrate the color and the return to the city after it was being liberated. It was really, in the past, if you Google Mosul and Mosul Cultural Museum, you will only see what was resulted of the destruction. But right now, you probably will get some of the image and some of the celebration of colors that took place after that. I encourage all of you to probably visit the online site. It was one of the biggest events that happened that supports art and culture in Mosul. The creation of the exhibition was with participation of 37 Iraqi and Arab artists with collaboration with Google Arts and Culture. More than 6,000 people attended this event. And what was really interesting is to see that people who brought their families and children to enjoy the taste of color after all what happened to the city. Since then, we have started developing and the use of technology and try to work on building initiatives that's relevant to building VR team who are working on virtual reality production in the city. And those team, their goal was to try to use the technology into the reservation elements. So they've started working on recovering the soul of some of the elements that were gone together. This is an example of a Moslawi house that was partially destructed, but with the work with media production and virtual reality production is to try to recover the theme of how these places look like and work on encouraging and try to revive the memory and the soul of these ancient and precious symbolic areas in the city. Since then, we've been also developing the team capability, and we have worked with other partners. One of the projects that we've worked on was the Nuri Mosque. We worked with UNESCO and who are launching an international competition to reconstruct the Nuri Mosque, and this is a project that's funded by the UAE. And we were the implementer for all the content that's relevant to 3D models and also to provide virtual reality experience for architects around the world to be able to participate in the international competition. This is all the efforts are done with local teams who are people who've seen the level of destruction and they worked on providing something different. This is how the Nuri Mosque used to look like, and it's probably this is how people want to see it, and this is people are willing and wishing that this place will be recovered because it's very tied to their identity and history of Nineveh. One of the things that people getting and the artists getting from being able to launch it on international platforms such as Google Arts and Culture is a kind of empowering to the individuals and to the art in general, and be able to celebrate art and also encourage the recovery of people, and encourage the recovery of art and to the city and to all artists inside. I do encourage all of you to visit Mosul الفن والحياة, which is in 3 languages, and it's a very popular, and it's been covered by many international medias all over the world. Thank you, Chance, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. It's incredible for both just to kind of reminisce, and it was only a few weeks ago, of the amount of work and really the overall incredible stories that both of these projects encompass, from both the preservation and conservation stories of the American Research Center in Egypt and the many years that you've been working in Egypt, and to be able to bring that and consolidate it into one place online was really an incredible story. And then also doing that with Mosul, particularly for showcasing the resilience and revival of the artist community in Mosul. And so what I'd like to do now is go into a discussion, to use this as an opportunity to talk more about these 2 projects, both organizations, and overall how some of the information and maybe some of the feedback and impact of how these projects landed, both within the local communities, by those partners, and globally, both from a press perspective, marketing, or like social media perspective, but also overall, and some of the visions that you see this may help boost and amplify the work that both of you as partners on the Google Arts and Culture platform get from collaborating with us. So my first question goes to Louise. So RC's mission, as you mentioned before, is to support the research on all aspects of Egyptian history and culture, which goes from the ancient into contemporary times through different periods of time, and to foster a broader understanding of Egypt among the general public. Since we are really talking about technology and the ways in which technology brings these stories of your work to life and to online audiences, I wanted to ask you, how has technology helped your organization specifically achieve this mission over recent years?
Yeah, it has invaluably helped us to reach our mission. Of course, any conservation, not just ours, but any conservation that anybody does is something that is not always sustainable. It's not always permanent. And oftentimes monuments that anybody conserves require lots of constant attention, care. And in the case of countries like Egypt, for example, where there's so much cultural heritage, it's sometimes a challenge to be able to attend to everything. So when we do conservation work, how technology has helped, it's making our work accessible, but it's also providing a digital record of the material in time that scholars can refer to in the future, that's now accessible on Google Arts and Culture. So it's really helping to ensure sustainable preservation of work. And of course, we're working on a number of initiatives throughout RC. Of course, we're very proud of our partnership with Google Arts and Culture and getting our work out to be more accessible. But we've had a lot of talks within our organization that, how do we approach this? And I'm sure with the current pandemic situation, everybody is looking at developing new digital strategies, digital initiatives. So our archives, we're also ensuring that will be available on our website. So we've embarked as well on a large archive digitization project of all of our projects. Over the last 25 years, we've done more than 90 different projects. So we want that work to be preserved and accessible. And as well as even during the conservation project itself, technology has helped to provide a digital record of before we started the project and then when we finished the project. so we can actually see now in 3D form. And this is something that only recently technology has allowed us to start doing. So there's a number of ways that technology has helped us to achieve our mission, and this is continuously evolving.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to pose the same question to Mohammed, but beforehand, I just wanted to tell everyone who is attending the session, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat of the session, and we'll get to them in due course here in the remaining minutes that we have left. So over to you, Mohammed. I mean, you and RC are you know, it's about communicating and the art and culture of a particular region of the world to other parts of that world. I'm curious, from a technology standpoint, how has technology helped you achieve your mission in the years, you know, even before and after ISIS or Daesh were in Mosul? How has that changed in different ways for you?
I think the technological side, it has helped massively in terms of communication, and try to also from the production side. So when it comes to communicating message, and try to work on preservations and work toward stability and recovery, especially in areas that witness a bit of violence over the years. These areas been very hard to access. So being able to provide some kind of material that's kind of universal, and try to use the technology to make it available for people who are not necessarily able to visit these areas. But at the same time, it's helped on the local level on trying to preserve their own history. Sometimes when you see ancient sites, you think these ancient sites will be there for the coming generations, but sometimes circumstances that we have seen ourselves proven this is not really accurate. And a lot of sites which are gone forever really didn't have a really good archive from the past. And this is why technology is really playing a crucial role in that element, and trying to protect and recreate some of the ancient site that's gone forever, and try to reserve the memory that's tied to these areas, and makes it available for the rest of the world, but also makes it available for the communities themselves, and try to use the cultural and heritage as an element to unite communities, and try to use this to build upon introducing people to other fields, and try to use it as a strength, and try to feed that back into the ability of these communities, which has been really in challenging circumstances.
Great. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. That makes sense. I want to now move on to the question, which is really the theme, one of the overarching themes of this cultural summit, is cultural economy. So, of course, you know, not-for-profit institutions and the ways in which, so I'm curious from RC's standpoint, from a cultural economy perspective, how does RC participate in the cultural economies of Egypt and the US? For example, maybe helping support and find the funds for local researchers to carry out their work, or support restoration work on buildings that will most likely contribute to tourism and overall local community cultural activity. But you know, as phrased as a question, I'm curious, Luis, what ways do you feel RC's role in the cultural economies of these? Does that?
Well, RC's participation in the cultural economy of Egypt is most prominent through our Antiquities Endowment Fund, in which we're very fortunate to have this grant program that was made possible by an endowment through the United States government. And this is an annual grant giving program that's open to anyone who wishes to undertake conservation or documentation, training, or publication projects in Egypt. And since the first round of grants that we had through this program in 2004, RC's actually awarded more than $8.5 million in grants supporting more than 190 different projects. So this is money that goes directly into supporting the restoration work and tourism development, and of course also community development, because none of the projects we do is without, of course, working in collaboration with the community and, of course, with the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, who really is our most important and critical partner, because they are the ones ultimately that is tasked with responsibility for Egypt's cultural heritage. And now that it's tourism and antiquities merged together, they're looking at both of these tasks. So this is the way at least RC has a most direct impact on the cultural economy. But of course, we've done, in partnership with the United States Agency for International Development, we've done numerous projects to which our Google Arts and Culture page is based on, that we've done over the last 25 years as well.
Great, thank you. And I want to ask you, Mohammed, from the perspective of Algad Radio, how is this project, and maybe there are other examples, but particularly maybe how this project in this context, how has the launch itself impacted interest in Mosul's art scene and hopefully maybe the growth of the cultural economy?
So one of the things that probably we have tested and seen that by doing the project with Google Arts and Culture, and after launching the project itself, and see the interest and the growth in the interest of people starting seeing the art that's coming from Iraq, which is, and try to, a lot of people asked how to communicate with artists, and they were willing to start purchasing art from Iraq. And this is some of the elements that we see a potential in, and the best way, based on my experience working in the region, the best way to support any initiative or to support art in general is to create a market for it. And one way is to go over that is to be able to create that kind of sustainability model of artists and try to support them, do some capacity building for them, help them to get into markets and auctions and be able to sell for their arts and be able to share it and start building their personal portfolio and being able to get to higher levels. So there's a lot of talents, but it's unfortunately undiscovered. So we as a media, we try to provide that role, and we try to support individuals, and we support the artist committee to get into that stage. And we have seen a really good progress with that after doing the Google Arts and Culture project. But we also are expecting, and we are reaching to a lot of organizations to try to build on that concept and take it to the second level to create a sustainable model for this idea.
That's so great to hear. Thank you. So a question, there was one question in the session from the audience, and I'll take it just because we have, with the context, I'll read it, and we have 60 seconds left on this session. So the question is, do you think the integration to the virtual platform will affect footfall in the actual space of the museum or historical sites? Follow-up question is, will it replace the role of physical museums? And I'll go ahead and take this in the interest of time, because what we find is we've been working with institutions and museums from around the world for many years. And what they actually find is it is a supplement or a way to promote their museum and the collections that are found within. So if people have an idea or a preview of what they may be able to find in a museum, they can see it and then they choose to go see it in person. But for others, maybe they are unable to financially travel to that museum, or maybe the collections themselves are so fragile that you can't get so close to them. You can't get as close to them as you could through a virtual digital online means. So we actually find that in some ways the virtual augments the ability for people to visit museums and historical sites. So I realize we've just run out of time, but I want to thank everyone for participating. I want to thank the organizers for inviting us. And I would also like to thank Louise and Mohammed for joining us today to present both of your recent projects launched on Google Arts.